Hello everyone, welcome to another session from the WITS Tutoring team. My name is Shamar and I'll be taking you through a few tips on how to approach the essay questions for CAPE Tourism. Now I know that this is a difficult section of the exam for a few persons. They're not sure how to approach it. They're not sure what to write in the essay, how to even start. So that's why I'll be taking you through that process today so you can get the best mark possible on that CAPE examination. Right? So you can head over to our Instagram page and follow us, and you can reach out to us via that platform as well. And the contact info is in the video description. Right? So let's get started. So how do you approach these essay questions? Right? So there are a few steps that I have outlined here, and we'll go through them one by one, right? So firstly, you're going to look for terms that can be defined, and then you're going to state their definition, right? That's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is to look for the main points or the arguments that you want to use in your essay. So this is where you analyze what the question is asking you for, and then look for the main points or the main arguments that you can use to give them the answer that they want, right? Then you're going to look for relevant examples to support each point or argument. So after you have found those main points or those main arguments, what you want to do now is you want to find the examples that you can use to support those points, right? And this is where relevant current knowledge comes in. So you want to keep abreast of all the news and the happenings in the tourism industry. Because if you are not up to date with what is going on in the tourism industry, you won't be able to provide current examples. And that is a huge part of actually developing an essay that is good and that can get you a good grade. And then after you have done all of that, what you're going to do is to actually write your essay, right? So let's go through these steps again, one at a time, using a question from the CAPE paper as an example. So here is the question example. This is from a CAPE Unit 1 paper. This is a question from a paper that was given a few years ago. And it says, explain two actions which tourism and hospitality organizations can undertake to strengthen their sustainable tourism practices. All right. And if you notice that I have highlighted sustainable tourism practices, because if you read the question, that is basically the core of the question, right? So you can't give them those two actions if you're not sure what sustainable tourism practices are, right? And you don't want to take it for granted. Yes, we know that they know what sustainable tourism practices are. They wrote the question, right? But you don't want to take it for granted that they know that you know what sustainable tourism practices are, right? So this is where you define that term, right? And this would come in the introduction. So usually you have persons have different essay writing styles, but usually the definition is the first thing that you write in the introduction of your essay. So here's the definition according to Maxwell 2018, and this is from a small tourism book that some CAPE students use. It was written by Jody Titus Maxwell. And the definition in that book says that sustainable tourism practices are those actions that tourism organizations take in an attempt to preserve resources for the future generation, right? So you have started your essay by giving that definition, right? So now we have given it a wonderful start with the definition, and then you go on to flesh out the introduction further, and state the two actions. You don't explore them yet, but you state what those two actions will be, right? And then you move on to the other parts, okay? All right. But we want to finish the introduction, state those two actions as I said before, and then move on to the next section. However, we'll take a look at the main argument. So these are the two main actions that we will speak of, right? So these actions are what we would have listed in the introduction. After we do the definition and we state, okay, these are the 2 actions that we have identified, right? So the 2 actions are, 1, you get certifications. So certifications from, for example, Green Globe. Green Globe gives certification to businesses that practice sustainable tourism, right? So you can say the first action that you can do to strengthen your sustainable tourism practices, is 1, you can get certified by Green Globe. And there are other organizations that provide certifications. Green Globe is just an example of one of such organizations. And the second argument that you could use, the next action of the 2, is to embrace community participation, right? When you talk about embracing community participation, you talk about having meetings with community members if you're going to develop tourism within their area, right? Because you don't want to be going into their community and disrupting the environment without consulting them. In some places, a lot of trees are cut down, a lot of beaches are turned into tourist beaches, which were once, free for the community to roam. So that is why you need to embrace community participation, get the input of the community before you develop tourism. And that can also be something that you use to strengthen sustainable tourism practices. So these are the 2 main arguments: certifications and embracing community participation. There are other actions that you can take, of course. There are other actions, but these are the 2 that I use for the sake of the example. All right. So what next? You have identified the 2 actions, which we said were certification and community consultation, right? And community participation. All right. So how do we show the persons from CXC that we know what we're talking about, right? You support it using examples, and not just any example. You support it using relevant examples and examples that are preferably current, right? Preferably current and relevant examples. So this is why I say that you need to keep abreast with the happenings within the tourism industry, right? And not only in your country, keep abreast with the tourism activities within the Caribbean and even within the world. Throughout the world, you have the United Nations World Tourism Organization and organizations like that you can follow and see what is happening around the world as it relates to tourism, right? So the supporting examples, the first example is the Rock House Hotel in Jamaica is Green Globe certified. All right. So we said that, you can practice sustainable actions by getting your business certified, right? And we gave the example that said you can certify the business using Green Globe, right? There are other certification organizations. Remember, I said that it's not Green Globe alone, but that is the example that we use, right? So now we want to show them that we know what we're talking about. So we say, okay, here is an example. The Rock House Hotel in Jamaica is certified by Green Globe, right? And this certification allows them to practice sustainable tourism, right? Because there are certain criteria that they would have to meet in order to be Green Globe certified, right? So they had to put their business in a position where they can become certified, right? So that is an action that they took to strengthen their sustainable tourism practices, all right? The second example that you're going to use, and you can use multiple examples for each point, So for the first point, the certification, I use the Rock House Hotel, the Green Globe certification. You can use another example as well if you want to strengthen your point even more. Right, but I gave you one example there, which is the Rock House Hotel. All right, so for the second point, which was community participation. Second point, the example for that point is there is ongoing community consultation regarding the Winifred Beach development in Portland, Jamaica. And this is very current. This is going on in March 2022, right? So the TEF, the Tourism Enhancement Fund, and the Ministry of Tourism, they are having town halls, they're having meetings with the people of that community because they're looking to develop the Winifred Beach in Portland. So they're taking the community into consideration when they are developing tourism. And this can also be a form of strengthening tourism practices. And we talk about the TEF and the Ministry of Tourism, but the private entities can also do this. So if you're building a hotel in Portland, you can consult the residents of that community and get their opinion. You know, you might not know as much about the community as they do about the culture, about what is sacred within that community. So you don't want to be coming in and cutting down this and then, you know, destroying their beaches. You want to consult them, you know, and get their opinion on what is the proper way to go about this in a sustainable manner. And then the last thing that you do is to write your essay. So all of those things that we spoke about, your main points, your examples from your points, you're going to put, and the definition, you're going to put all that together. You have to know where to put them. So the definition, usually, as I say, go in the introduction, right? Then you state the main points, right? You state them in the introduction as well, what your main points will be. And then in the next paragraph, you expound, you flesh out your first point, and then you give supporting examples. Then you have another paragraph, you flesh out your second point, and then you give the supporting examples, right? And then you have a nice, concise conclusion, right? So that is, you know, just one way to ensure that you get the highest grade that you can on your essay, all right? And I hope that this helped a lot. Here are the services that we offer at Wits Tutoring. Right, so these are all the subjects that we offer, and this is the contact information, the phone number, the Instagram page, and also we have the Gmail as well. So you can just check out the Instagram page to see all of the offerings, and also the link to that is in the description, the video description as well. All right. So thank you so much for watching this session. You can subscribe and leave a like on the video. And I hope that this video has helped you to better understand how to write the essays so that you can get a good grade when you step into that CAPE examination. See you next time.